Hi, I'm Michelle Cox, and I've been unmuted by Papamutes.
You shove the kids off to school and you lock in for 8 hours or whatever before they come home, and that's your window of opportunity to write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have to write the very first thing in the morning because that's when my brain is the freshest.
Really. It's
So,
the opposite for me.
so I turned to historical fiction because I love stories of the past, and it was kind of that next closest genre to the classics because it was not written in the past, but it was about the past, and I have a real sort of connection. I used to work in a nursing home. I heard amazing stories of people who lived in Chicago. It is a 7-book series, and the final book, book 7, comes out this October. Murder mystery, heavy romance series set in Chicago in the 1930s. The final book is A Haunting at Linley.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And it's October. It's coming out.
Yep. October 24th.
Awesome. How about influences? At 10 years old, you started reading, but who were your influencers as far as going in this direction?
I was a huge Catherine Cookson fan. I don't know if any of your listeners are familiar with her. She's a British writer, and even as a little kid, not a little kid, but preteen teen, I was reading these books. I stole them off my mom's shelf, and they're definitely not for kids, but I love them. I love the historical sort of saga. I was also a huge Louisa May Alcott fan, and then later in life, of course, Charles Dickens, Jane Austen. I love Dickens's ability to create this gigantic world of characters and somehow weave them all together. So he's probably one of my biggest influences.
Now, how do your ideas come? It's fiction on your part, and it's history. If I thought of a fictional story myself, I don't think could be going back in history, but how do your ideas come? I'm fascinated by that.
Well, a lot of I always need a little bit of a grain of truth, a grain of reality. And so when I was writing the first book of the series, I used the story of this woman in the nursing home who she said she was apparently this bombshell, and she worked as an usherette in a burlesque hall.
Nice.
So I decided to sort of imagine what that would be like. And then there was, I did invent a murder and the handsome inspector and all that kind of stuff. But it's always rooted in a little bit of reality for me, although I am sort of branching out into a new series and new books, and those are more just completely out of my imagination.
And how many, it's a lot of books. How many books have you written?
Well, I wrote one book before the series that never got published. Nobody likes to think about their book as their first book as their practice book, but that's kind of what that one was. And I tried for a long time to get that published, and I finally decided, I need to just put this one in a drawer and kind of start over. So then the series was born, and there's 7 books in that one. I have also written 2 standalone women's historical fiction. So
okay.
A little bit different. One of those is coming out in March, and I've started on a brand new spin-off series, and that book 1 of that comes out in the fall. So I guess that's 10 books.
Approximately, yeah. Just trying to get a feel for how many. And you mentioned about, this leads into the next question, just for up and coming writers, how many, I hate to say failures, but how many failures? I can't think of another word, but you know what I mean? Like, everybody has to, fail to go forward. So just for people that want to write, that have that doubt in their head, like, some reality check, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's hard to answer. Because I guess, some people spend 10 years writing a book and, might not go anywhere. And other people write a bunch of books and, still it doesn't go anywhere. So I did have that one book. I queried 200 agents I spent about a year trying to get some attention on it. And after a year and I wasn't getting any bites, I just thought, you know what, there's either something wrong with the product or there's something wrong with how I'm going about it. And so I started to try to educate myself. I went to a bunch of conferences and learned more about the genre and about, the industry as a whole, which is its own, entire huge universe.
Sure.
Yeah. So you have to really have a thick skin as an author. And I mean, writers think that, the big challenge is finishing the book, and it is that's huge. But then you face a whole new mountain of getting it published, and then you also have to market it. So you have to start thinking of yourself almost like a small business, which is not what most authors are thinking when
Right.
they sit down to write a book. But that's kind of the mindset you have to have if you're going to be successful.
Now, any educational background for you in history or?
I have a BA in
Okay.
literature. Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
yeah, so it kind of came in handy, right? And I think that was a great foundation for me because I didn't have a lot of creative writing courses, admittedly. However, I do think that one of the ways that you can really teach yourself is to just read and read and read and read. It really is one of the best ways to learn.
So someone coming up through the ranks, so to speak, the more education you have, I think just to back up a step, networking is key. Any business, networking is key. Film, whatever.
Sure.
Being involved with other people who write, same interests, I think is a big step for anyone.
Yeah, it really is. And once I sort of started researching book conferences, I realized that there's a whole world of conferences out there. And it's great because some of them are more geared towards craft, learning to be a better writer, and some are more geared towards marketing, some are for fans, and some are just for networking or maybe some kind of combination. And those were a huge pivotal thing for me because I learned a lot about the industry. I learned a lot about marketing. And as you're saying, I just really, really started networking, and that's huge. You really need that. As you're saying, in any business, you need to be able to sort of connect with other authors or other players in the industry who can possibly help you.
Now, are you where you write? Is that the room you write in right now?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's been remodeled since
Looks
COVID.
nice.
Thanks. It used to be this like dingy hole, but with COVID, we're like, well, let's, fix this up while we have the chance. So yeah, now it's kind of my dream office.
Now, do you write outside of that room? In other words, I don't know, you're at the park. Do you ever go anywhere outside there to write?
No, never. No,
Really?
I'm one of
Wow.
those people. No, I need complete silence and I need complete, aloneness. When I wrote the first book of the Henrietta and Clive series, I used to try to edit, like at the kids' basketball game or the swimming lesson or something like that. And I quickly realized that was just not effective. I need a lot of focus and concentration to really do my best work. I used to be the other way, but I've all these years of kids, it's switched.
True.
So yeah, I write first thing and then maybe for an hour and a half, and then my brain kind of fizzles, and then I switch to marketing and do marketing for about 6 hours.
Okay, so you have a pattern.
Yeah.
Ever try an original story outside of historical fiction? A fictional story that has nothing to do with history. Did you ever pursue
So you
that?
mean more like a contemporary story?
Yeah, exactly right.
No, I haven't, but because I'm very old-fashioned myself, and I love, the past, and I love the like big band music. So I'm if I could choose to be anywhere, it would probably be there. So writing a story set in a modern day, time, to me seems very daunting. I think because I would have to include so much technology into it, and I'm like, But I will say that I keep getting a lot of very interesting ideas. And I think that,
Something's brewing
yeah,
then.
something's brewing
You got to
someday.
combine the history, like a time machine or something,
Exactly.
whatever's going on there. Now your
Yeah.
books, your website is great, by the way. It's like a
Oh,
whole
thanks.
plethora of information.
Thanks.
I'm always fascinated I have a photography background and video and stuff, but who does the covers on your book? Do you have any choice on that? Because they're pretty nice,
Thank you.
elaborate covers. I mean, they're really like suck me. Like if I see a movie title, I get sucked in. I don't even know what the movie's about or an image, a poster, a book. I see them like it's a really
Oh,
nice
thanks.
cover. So who does that? Do
Thanks.
you have any input?
Thank you. I do get a lot of compliments on the cover, so I'm really happy with that. I'm published with She Writes Press, so they are a hybrid press, um, uh, headquartered in Berkeley, and they do the covers, so they have a cover designer. But what's great about this particular publishing company is that the author gets a lot of creative input into the covers. And unlike most traditional publishing companies, the author gets the final say. So that's a kind of a huge perk of going with them.
Nice. Now, what's the name of the company again?
It's called She Writes Press.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, any movie or TV offers that after, about your books or about your stuff?
Yeah, I
Creative.
mean, it's a great question, and I'm trying, don't mean to brag, but I get
Brag, please.
literally hundreds of emails from readers saying, when is this going to be on Netflix? When can I see this? And
Really?
I'm like,
Okay.
you tell me. So I've tried to make little inroads into Hollywood, which is a whole other universe, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a film attorney looking at the first two books, and she's reading those. So we'll see. I'm always kind of looking for an avenue. It's kind of one of those things where I think it's, not what you know, but who you know.
I
So
mean, true. I mean, Chicago is, it's no slouch either. That's a big city. You know, you could start there, make a movie there. I've known people who have made independent films. I mean,
yeah.
not you, but, got something started from their idea. Chicago is a big city. Now, how long from the very first page, you sit down in that room, of course,
And only here, yeah.
yeah, and you start your thing and you're like, okay, Joe, whatever, until the final product. I'm sure it varies with different books, but in general, I mean, to me it seems daunting. Writing is a very skillful set that I'm not good at, but how long from the first page,
Yeah.
all the rewrites, all that stuff until it's on the shelf?
Oh, geez, that's a hard one. Yeah, it really depends. Okay, so probably the first book of the series, A Girl Like You, that probably took maybe about a year to write and edit, which is kind of fast, really.
Really?
And then it took from the time I signed the contract with She Writes Press, it took a year and a half for it to come out, which is long for them. Usually they can get a book out in a year. So, but like book 2 of the series, I was so on fire. I wrote that book in 68 days. Just cranked it out. And book 3 also came very quickly. But then by the time I got to book 4, that took over a year to write, because by that time I was pretty entrenched in the marketing. And so I was really doing a lot of traveling, and it really slowed me down. So it kind of just depends on what's going on in my life. But one thing I'm excited about is that with this new book coming out in March, I'm self-publishing that.
Okay.
So, and then I'm going to self-publish a spin-off series. And the advantage there is that you can get a book out much more quickly. So you don't need that year that traditional publishers sometimes takes 2 years to get your book out. So,
But what is the pros and cons of that? Is it better to have a publisher push your book or self-publish? I mean, everybody wants the greatest novel ever, movies and stuff. But what's the pros and cons of self-publishing compared to a publisher?
Well, that's about an 800-hour question. No, I'll give you briefly what's good about self-publishing is that you are in control of the whole project, and also you are in control of the marketing. So with a traditional one thing that's happening in traditional publishing is that there's less and less dollars allotted to authors for PR and marketing. So all the big names get all the money, which they don't need. So I don't know. So a lot of traditionally published authors are having to hire their own marketing people, which is, kind of ridiculous. But with She Writes Press, we also have to hire our own PR people, our own marketing people, if you want to go that route. But the hard thing is that if you really want to advertise your book and run ads and all that kind of stuff, what you need to be successful is you need that daily data to see if your ad is working. And with a traditional publisher or She Writes Press, a hybrid, you only get a royalty statement every, 4 times a year. So it makes that really hard. So what's exciting about self-publishing is that you are kind of really in the driver's seat in terms of running your own business and really making it work.
How about social media, pushing it? I mean, it seems everybody, you want to push something on social media. How much does that factor in? I'm thinking it's huge. I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, I think that social media is super important for visibility and also for maybe trying to connect to your readers in a more sort of organic way, to help them get to know you as a person more. It's not about, buy my book, because that's a huge turnoff, obviously. And then you have some platforms like TikTok, which are, on fire right now. Book Talk is huge. Some people are making 6 figures from, their book taking off on Book Talk. But the problem there is that it's really geared to fantasy and romance are the big genres on TikTok. So I'm trying to kind of break into there, but it's been tough.
How about, I kind of skipped over this one, writer's block.
I am one of those writers that I don't have writer's block. I know I should say knock on wood. Yeah. Wow. I have too many ideas to, Okay. So if I'm a little bit stumped on how a chapter should go, I try to take a walk, like about an hour walk, and that seems to sort of unclog, whatever's in there. So
before the kids come home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or late at night, and then I kind of think about what I want to write the next morning, the next chapter, and that really helps me.
Now, do you just this, tonight you think of something, right? You're not in your room, kids are running around, whatever. What do? You put it on paper, or do you remember it? Or do you put it on your phone, like, this plot, at that moment, you can't run into your little cave there.
Right. If I'm near a piece of paper, I will quickly jot it down. If I'm not, then I'll do a voice recording on my phone.
Oh, yeah. Phone is everything. It's like a mini computer.
I know.
That's great. So let's get off the subject a little bit. I understand that you're a fan of board games, but you don't play them because you have no time.
That's pretty much true. Yes.
So I have the segue into this. I have this this or that segment. It's basically just to get to know you outside of, writing a book. You're an author.
Sure.
And so I give you a couple choices and you tell me your preference.
Ooh,
okay.
Fun.
So, Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders?
Monopoly.
Checkers or chess?
Ooh, checkers. I'm not that smart.
Parcheesi or backgammon?
Oh, that's almost like a tie.
We have a tie, folks.
Yes. I'm going to have to say Parcheesi because I used to play that with my mom all the time.
How about Clue or Sorry?
Hello. Any mystery writer is going to say Clue, right?
True, right. Sorry, it used to piss me off so much, but it's a great game. So let's get out of that. Cat or dog?
Cat. Although I own a dog, so go figure.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. Kids wanted a dog, so I lost.
Caved in on that one. Meat or fish?
Fish.
Fish. Driver or passenger?
Driver.
Country or city?
Oh gosh. I grew up in the country, but I went to college in the city. You know what?
Where'd
I'm
you
gonna
go?
have to Mundelein in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I'd have to say country.
Okay. Art museum or history museum?
History.
I kind of knew that one.
Yeah,
But I was writing it down. I was like, Snowstorm or rainstorm?
Ooh. I'm gonna say rain. There's something romantic about the rain.
Lady Gaga or Taylor Swift?
Ooh. Can I say neither?
You could.
I'm gonna say neither.
If you were forced to go see one.
I guess Taylor Swift.
Last one. Glenn Miller Orchestra or Count Basie Orchestra?
Oh my God, now that's a real question. I'm gonna have to say Glenn Miller.
Yeah, it's funny because when I hear that name, my dad used to play it, albums and, the whole, whatever, 33s or whatever they were called, years ago. And that was like, Glenn Miller was like Lady Gaga. I mean, it was just so popular. I was little, whatever was on. I had no choice there, but it stuck out quite a bit. So I think I know the answer to this because your website's awesome, but where can people find your books?
Well, you can go to my website, michellecoxwrites.com. The books are everywhere where books are sold. You can get them at your local library. You can ask your local bookstore to stock them, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google. And they're all out on audio too, and they are now on Spotify as well. So
okay. Now, how does it work with the library? I mean, who's purchasing obviously the library's buying the book, right? I mean,
right. The library purchases the book and, I get my cut of the royalty. The advantage to selling to libraries is that if I sell 5,000 copies to Target, let's say, or Barnes & Noble, and they sell 100 of those, they reserve the right to send them all back, and that comes out of the author's royalties.
really?
So yeah, with at least as far as Shiraz Press goes. So they don't ever do gigantic orders like this. But libraries, however, is a non-returnable sale. So once a library buys it, it's sold. So
but how about
nice.
and I'm just thinking out loud, if it's in the library and I go and I check it out and I read it and I bring it back and then, Mary Smith does. In other words, the book is being read by multiple people, so they're not purchasing the book. Is that
Correct.
kind of the negative end of that?
It is a little bit, but there are some people that get exposed to your book that might not otherwise, and they might become such a fan that when your new book comes out, they don't want to wait. They'll just go buy it. So
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus,
awesome.
it's always good to be friends of a librarian, because
sure.
if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, I'm looking for a mystery, maybe a little bit of romance in it," then they can point that person to you, hopefully.
Any advice for up and coming writers, whether they're going to college or they're taking class and they're thinking about it, they see you, they hear about you, other writers, and and they say, I think I can do that. What's the advice besides thick skin? Besides talent, what do you need?
You need perseverance and you need discipline. So it's important to write every single day. I mean, you can't edit or correct a blank page. So write even if you don't feel like writing, even if you think what you're writing is crap, because it's kind of like you're building muscle. And nobody jumps out of bed and, says, I can't wait to work out. But it's something that you just really have to do. And it's the same with writing. Some days you get out of bed and you don't feel like writing. You don't feel inspired, but you have to sit down and do it. And that's really, I think, one of the secrets to success. And the other thing is try to understand as early as possible in the process why you're doing this. Are you doing it because it's on your bucket list, like write a book, or are you trying to make a career out of it? Because that will kind of inform a lot of your decisions early on, and you can save yourself a lot of time and money and heartache if you know why you're getting into this in the first place. And sometimes you don't know, and that's fine. But if you can sort of identify that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So if it's a passion, great. If it's not, you figure that out quickly.
Yes, exactly.
Well, look, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been fun and informative.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
well, how's it? It looks nice and shiny there today. Nice weather. You said it was hot and humid, right?
Hot and humid.
Are you writing now?
No, I'm in the middle of marketing now, answering emails and all that.
And doing podcasts. All right.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, have a great day. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome.
I'll
Thanks
be
for
in
having me.
touch. Take
Okay.
care.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.